Joe's yesterday that she was horrified upon seeing dozens of American flags on people's cars and insisted that we have to separate America from whiteness. Now think about that. A member of the New York Times editorial saying that. Mara Gay, who is also an MSNBC analyst, she came out and talked about how this had so negatively affected her. Here's what she said on the show.
We have tens of millions of Trump voters who continue to believe that their rights as citizens are under threat by simple virtue of having to share the democracy with others. I think as long as they see Americanness as the same as one with whiteness, this is going to continue. We have to figure out how to get every American a place at the table in this democracy, but how to separate Americanness, America, from whiteness. Until we can confront that and talk about that, this is really going to continue. I was on Long Island this weekend visiting a really dear friend, and I was really disturbed. I saw, dozens and dozens of pickup trucks with explicatives against Joe Biden on the back of them, Trump flags, and some cases just dozens of American flags, which is also just disturbing because essentially the message was clear. It was, this is my country. This is not your country. I own this.
How do you get that from the American flag? In all seriousness, you put American flags up, so that means that the country is, the flag is whiteness? It's incredible how prescient a person Rush was. It's remarkable that he had these people down to the atomic level. He understood how they functioned, what would trigger them, what would upset them. When was the last time we saw a vehicle driving along with a Biden-Harris bumper sticker and an American flag flying from it? I don't know. Maybe you've seen that. I don't know. Rush talked about the impact of the American flag. He said this.
This is U.S. News and World Report. U.S. flag only boosts GOP. The U.S. flag makes people think and vote Republican. Just like 4th of July celebrate. No wonder Democrats and other leftists are always so eager to burn the American flag. Because it tends to motivate people to vote and think Republican. Just a brief exposure to an image of the American flag shifts voters, even Democrats, to Republican beliefs, attitudes, and voting behavior, even though most don't believe it'll impact their politics. According to a new 2-year study just published in the scholarly Psychological Science magazine. What's more, according to the 3 authors from the University of Chicago, Cornell University, and Hebrew University, the impact and staying power. A single exposure to an American flag resulted in a significant increase in participants' Republican voting intentions, voting behavior, political beliefs, and implicit and explicit attitudes, with some effects lasting as long as 8 months. Folks, go out and put a flag up front in the house. Everybody get a flag out there, because it's a double whammy. A, it'll tick off the Democrats, so your house might be at risk, but it'll grow conservatism. Look at this study, 2-year study, 3 universities, 3 scholars. I'll read this to you again. A single exposure to an American flag resulted in a significant increase in participants' Republican voting intentions, voting behavior, political beliefs, and implicit and explicit attitudes, some effects lasting 8 months. These results constitute the first evidence that non-conscious priming effects from exposure to a national flag can bias the citizenry toward one political party and can have considerable durability. All this explains so much. That's why the left out there burning flags all day long, why they don't like the 4th of July. This is classic. Now, this is the first study to look at the political impact on Americans who have seen an American flag, and it seems to back up another recent Harvard University professor study that found that kids who attended a July 4th parade ended up leaning Republican when they grew up. This is not that Harvard study. This turns out it's not even related to it. It turns out to be a companion study. It's a separate study. Now you can see where this is headed, though. Soon, folks, it's going to be against the law to have flags near polling stations. What do you bet it won't be long before the left and the Democrats suggest, after looking at this, that you can't use the American flag in a campaign ad? Don't be surprised. I know these people. I know these people like every square inch of my glorious naked body. And this is the kind of thing you're never going to see them react publicly to this. But behind the scenes, they're looking at this and they'll believe it and they'll act accordingly. Now you have to wonder how long it's before flying the flag is outlawed, along with celebrating the 4th of July. But here, the question here is, why should the symbol of America, our flag, of patriotism, be so much more associated with the Republican Party than the Democrat Party? That's a rhetorical question, of course, but still one worth asking. Why does this happen? 4th of July, young kids, turns them into Republican. Seeing the American flag boosts people's support of and intention to vote Republican. How does that happen? It can only happen not because of the Republicans so much, but because of the Democrats. It's obvious what the Democrats stand for. For this study, the scholars asked mostly Democrat-leaning voters to join in the survey conducted just before. This was before the immaculation of Obama. All were given a survey to fill out. Half of those surveys included a small picture of an American flag in the top left corner. 90% said that they believe their voting behavior would not be influenced by the presence of a flag, but after asking how they did vote, the study concluded this. In contrast to the beliefs of the participants in the pilot study, the results from the experiments reported here show that exposure to the American flag introduces a bias toward the Republican Party over the Democrat Party. In one experiment, we tested whether subtle exposure to the flag shifted people's beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors toward the Republican end of the political continuum, and we found that a single exposure to a small American flag during deliberation about voting intentions prior to a general election led to significant and robust changes in participants' voting intentions, voting behavior, political attitudes, all in the politically conservative direction. So you see, it goes even beyond voting Republican. It means voting conservative. It means we are a center-right country, and it means that we are a majority of the people and of the thinking in this country. It's a funny little story here. It's nevertheless important, worthwhile, very instructive, and just another reason why go ahead and feel optimistic. We're not alone. We're not the minority. We are the country. We just need more and more elected representation. We are.
Okay, now I have to jump back to what set all of this off. And in the interest of accuracy, we know Rush was about precision. I'm doing it myself. Precision and accuracy, and was about getting to the truth of things. Mara Gay said that she was offended when she saw American flags all over the pickup truck driving out on Long Island. But she used a particular word, and I think we need to explore what she means by that. Now, I know what an expletive is. We can't say them on the radio. You know what an expletive is. You've heard them, no doubt, especially after President Trump was elected by people who didn't like him. But Mara Gay, she introduced a totally new term into this conversation. Go ahead, Mike, fire it.
I was really disturbed. I saw, dozens and dozens of pickup trucks with explicatives against Joe Biden.
Okay, explicatives. Now, I'm going to believe that she meant to say it. And an explicative is something that would really be something you welcome. The definition of an explicative, serving to explicate. That is, to explain logically what is contained in the subject. An explicative proposition. In other words, you were to say, Joe Biden is a socialist. Well, you might be making the argument as an explicative. You might be deploying the word, the explicative there, by making the case against Joe Biden. The expletive is something different. The expletive is curse words. That doesn't advance anything. You only thing you get when you hear curse words is you know that there's an Antifa rally nearby. And that's what you get from the curse. That's what you get from the curse words, usually directed at the beloved American flag. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. In moments, I'm going to share with you what it is that the United States has now become in the mind of Ilhan Omar. It's quite shocking. I am Brett Witterbull.